When it comes to who runs the Formula 1 teams from the pit wall on a race weekend, we know that it's the team principals that are large and in charge. But who are the people that the team principals are accountable to? Who are the owners of Formula 1's teams? Here in this GPFans Special, we'll run down the individuals or perhaps the many number of different people or groups that have their fingers in Formula 1's pie. With Mercedes F1, as with many teams in Formula 1, it is more complicated than just a single owner. It would make sense that the Mercedes-Benz Group is the owner, but this is not quite the case. There are three owners of the team that has dominated Formula 1 for the past 10 years or so, each with 33% of the shares. Toto Wolff, the team principal of Mercedes F1, is actually one of them. Ineos and the Mercedes-Benz Group also own 33% of the team. Ineos is owned by Jim Radcliffe, and it is a chemical company that is also active in, among other things, cycling. The situation at Ferrari is even more complicated. More than 66% of the company is owned by public shareholders, thanks to, among other things, the presence of the company on the stock exchange, while Piero Ferrari holds just 10%, and Exor NV, headed by John Elkann, he owns 24% of the shares. Piero Ferrari is the son of Enzo Ferrari, the founder of the Ferrari company, if you didn't know that already. The Renault Group owns Alpine F1 team, formerly Renault F1. The group consists of Renault Samsung Motors, Dacia, Lada and Alpine. Alpine became part of the group again in 2017, resulting in the Formula 1 team being created in 2021. It is the only current F1 team with Renault engines on the grid. 15% of the shares in Renault Group are owned by Nissan and the government of France. Behind this, there are many more companies that have shares in the Renault Group, but on a slightly smaller scale. Now, the owner of Red Bull Racing is Dietrich Mateschitz, the co-founder of the energy drink Red Bull. The resounding success of his energy drink gave him the opportunity to found Red Bull Racing and a little later create the Toro Rosso team, now known as AlphaTauri. He also owns football clubs such as RB Leipzig and the Red Bull Ring circuit in Austria, where of course the Austrian Grand Prix has been taking place for years. Gerhard Berger was the first Red Bull Motorsport athlete, while the now well-known livery was already on display in the mid-90s on the Sauber F1 cars, which Red Bull sponsored before starting their own foray into Formula 1. It is also a little more complicated with the F1 team that is McLaren. The McLaren Group owns the F1 team, but there are different parties in that McLaren Group, to say the least. The Bahrain royal family's Mumtalakat investment company owns 56% of the McLaren Group, and thus of the F1 team, while the TAG Group owns 14%. The father of F1 driver Nicholas Latifi, Michael Latifi, actually owns 10% of the McLaren Group. Finally, there are also a few minor shareholders who own the remaining 20%. Islero Investments, part of Longbow Finance, owns the Alfa Romeo F1 team. Sauber Motorsport is part of the Longbow Finance Group, which was acquired by Longbow Finance in 2016. Just after this, Islero Investments was formed to separate the F1 team from Longbow Finance. There were persistent rumours that Andretti Racing would like to buy a lot of shares from Islero Investments to take over the F1 team, but right now, at the time of recording this, the idea is going through a period of, shall we say, radio silence around this rumour. With this team, the description can be short but sweet. Gene Haas is the owner of the Haas F1 team. Haas's company is Haas Automotion, a company that specialises in making tools for machines. Haas is the sole owner of the company and thus the F1 team. Very simple indeed. As mentioned earlier, Red Bull head Dietrich Mateschitz is the owner of AlphaTauri. The team started under the name Toro Rosso, but was transformed into AlphaTauri a few years ago. The team is therefore logically seen as the training ground almost for Red Bull Racing. Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen, two eventual world champions among others, started their career with this team as a stepping stone before moving into the big seat at Red Bull Racing. Lawrence Stroll is part owner of Aston Martin Lagonda Global Holdings plc, and thus the Aston Martin F1 team that has returned to Formula 1 since last year. Stroll owns 22% of Aston Martin Lagonda Global Holdings plc after he made an offer for the shares with a consortium. The remaining 68% of the shares in Aston Martin Lagonda Global Holdings plc, try and say that 4 times quickly, are owned by various companies, including Invesco Advisors Incorporated at 12% and Mercedes-Benz Group at 12%. This is also the reason that Aston Martin drives in Formula 1 with Mercedes engines. Williams Racing was recently acquired by Dorilton Capital, which bought the majority of the shares from the Williams family, the team's initial founders. Under the financial leadership of Dorilton Capital, the aim is for the team to regain financial strength and independence and then race at the top of Formula 1. However, this has hardly come to fruition just yet, midway through 2022. So those are the owners of the Formula 1 teams on the grid. Would you rather be perhaps involved in an F1 team that has one single owner like Haas, or has many multiple owners like, say, Scuderia Ferrari? Let us know in the comments section below, and of course we're building up to the Belgian Grand Prix this coming weekend at GPFans and GPFans Global all across social media.